Hi, this is Ethan Skolnick. Welcome to Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. You can also find us on Dash Radio. Download the Dash Radio app and search for the Nothing But Net channel. We're there every day from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern. Also, check out fivereasonsports.com if you want free South Florida content on all of the local teams. Yes, we're credentialed just like everybody else, but the difference is we don't put you behind a paywall. We let you go and check out all the content, whether it's on the Heat, the Hurricanes, the Marlins, the Panthers, Inter Miami, MMA, esports, or just about anything else. Oh, yeah, and the Miami Dolphins, who start up this Sunday. Also, check out our YouTube channel. Plenty of new streaming shows up there, plus videos. We put up the post-game videos off every single Heat game, so make sure you check out the YouTube channel. We just went over 5,000 subscribers tonight. Also, check out all of our sponsors. They're all local. Got a couple of sponsors on today's episode because it's a special episode. Gonzalez and Tybor Law Firm is one of them. You can find them at bankruptcyisgoodforyou.com. A recent report showed that over 45% of people use their stimulus checks to repay debt. This is money that could have and should have gone to cover living expenses. Even before the pandemic, household debt in this country, especially credit card debt, was going up, and it was hurting families and small businesses. Nobody likes to consider bankruptcy as an option for dealing with your debt, but bankruptcy is one of the few laws that exists to actually help consumers. So before you make another debt payment that you can't afford or do something drastic like empty out your 401k or borrow money from friends and family, why don't you talk to a professional about your options? Contact Gonzalez and Tybor. Bankruptcyisgoodforyou.com. The phone number here in Broward and all over South Florida, 954-378-8184, 954-378-8184. An attorney will answer your call. If you're having any issues with debt, don't hesitate, 954-378-8184. Another sponsor of this particular episode, you can find them in North Miami, and that's U-Brake Wheel Fix, located just south of Aventura in North Miami. 15 years of experience in wheel repair and refinishing. They do repair of cracked, bent, curbed, and damaged wheels. They also refinish and powder coat back to factory specifications, along with over 5,000 available custom colors. Check out our IG page. We posted up there and on Twitter what the Dolphins truck looks like. They also do the Vice colors. They do those themed wheel colors after all of your favorite South Florida teams. So visit U-Brake Wheel Fix on all social media platforms, including Twitter, IG, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Contact them. Reach out to Mark at 305-748-0112. 305-748-0112, or on the website, ubrakewheelfix.com. And now, today's episode with former Heat guard, Keyon Dooling.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5
on the floor.
Welcome to Five on the Floor, a daily show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, with Alphonse Sidney, Alex Toledo, and Greg Sylvander. Part of the Five Reasons Sports Network.
All right, welcome back to Five on the Floor on the Five Reasons Sports Network. You can find us every day on the Nothing But Net channel on Dash Radio. That's 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern, 7 a.m. to 8 a.m. Pacific, and, of course, on all of our podcast platforms. Now, we've been trying to get this guest for a while because he's known not only to Miami Heat fans but also fans of high school basketball in South Florida. He's doing some really cool stuff now. And you've been a popular guest request for us for a while, Keyon. So we got Keyon Dooling here. I think a lot of Heat fans remember him very fondly from a season that probably should have ended in a championship. And we've had Stan Van Gundy on to talk about that a little bit. But also he played for one of the teams that the Miami Heat may see in the Eastern Conference Finals, the Boston Celtics. And Key, first, thanks for joining us. Really appreciate it.
Hey, man, Ethan, thanks for having that stick-to-itiveness that you have. A delay is not a denial, man. I'm glad I finally got on here with you and the guys.
I appreciate it. No doubt. I was tracking Keyon down on every platform these days. When you can't get him on one, you try another. So I was all in his Instagram DMs. So
it's all good, my friend. We go way back, so it's all good. It's my pleasure to be here with you.
We do. So I want to take you way back here to start. I was looking this up, and I was a little bit surprised about how few guys are still in the NBA from this game. But the last time that the Heat played the Celtics in the playoffs, you were on the other side. That was 2012, and I believe a Game 7, and you were in the rotation for the Celtics. What do you remember about that game?
Oh, man, I think I remember everything about it. Just the intensity, the crowd, the trash talk. You know, KG was definitely trying to get LBJ out of his game, so he was saying some off-the-wall things. We were like, KG, you're gone too far. But I just remember also, that game 5 where LeBron just came out. I think it was a game 5. I believe it was, where he had like 45-17. That was something that stood out in that series. But I would say the last thing that I remember about that series is how we felt in the locker room, right? To see that many, grown men, really macho men, be that vulnerable in that moment, is a time that'll always stick with me.
Keyon, Greg Sylvander here. Thanks for being on the show. As you go into, as we talk about the current team, there's been some comments about the Heat going into this conference finals that they haven't been challenged because they won the first series with a sweep, second series in 5. And I thought back to 2005 when you were with Miami, and I think you guys swept through the first 2 rounds. And I was interested to hear your perspective on the validity behind that kind of statement about being challenged and how much that matters in a subsequent round, like playing in the conference finals. And do you foresee that being something that is even a viable talking point?
Yeah, well, look, I think it's hard to, squeak out a win on, in the regular season, let alone the playoffs. So I don't think that they've been on easy streak. I think they've just been competing at a high level. I think they peaked at the right time. I think they have a lot of interchangeable pieces that really enjoy playing with each other. They got a lot of facilitators, a lot of shooting. But more so than anything, they have that infrastructure of Erik Spoelstra and his system, the leadership of Pat Riley. And then you just got guys who put on their hard hats every day and they go to battle. So I don't think it'll be a problem as far as if they breeze through, because they kind of, breeze through the first 2 rounds. But, the higher you go up in the Eastern Conference, the bigger the challenge. So Boston and Toronto, both will be worthy opponents.
I'm gonna continue on that, but I want to cycle back to something because I don't want to let you off the hook here about the KG trash talk to LeBron. We got to get something there, okay? It can be PG-13 if you want, although I'm guessing with KG it probably wasn't. But you mentioned that was a series that like LeBron had one of his greatest games of all time.
Yeah.
And you're trying to finish him off in a building, by the way, that you played in a place that was home for you. So how bad was it emotionally for you? But also, you got to give me something from KG.
I can neither confirm nor deny, you know what I'm saying, those 2 master Jedi warriors and what they said. Just know it was graphic, it was intense, and maybe sometimes KG would cross the line. I'll leave it at that. As far as the trash talk, I don't want to go into specifics.
All right, so let's go back to Game 5 because you mentioned it, and I'm going to let these guys jump in here. It is known as one of LeBron's. We're talking about the game up in Boston, right? The 45-point game.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about.
Did you know from the very beginning of that game that he was different in that game?
You know what? There's a clip of him where like the camera kind of zoomed in and you could look in his eyes, and it was almost like he had this razor sharp focus. It reminds me of this movie. Let's Do It Again that my dad used to let me watch back in the days. And one of the characters in that looked like he had got hypnotized and he was in a trance as far as, his performance as a boxer. And that night, man, it just looked like LeBron was so locked in that nothing would stop him. Nothing could contain him. He had everything going. He dominated the game in 4 or 5 statistical categories. Arguably that was probably the best performance, of at least of his playoff career.
Keyon, I want to ask you something about this year's team because I remember when, especially that 2005 team, you used to come off the bench and it was like instant points, right? I used to love, it was like, oh, Keyon's in. We about to get 5, 6, 7 straight points. I mean, he about to just go off, And Goran was doing that a lot for the Heat in the regular season. And then now he's starting. What's the difference in the mentality from being that bench guy that comes in and your job is to, hey, the team's down by 3 or 4. Let me just boom, boom, boom. Let's, instant offense really quick to being a starter. What's the difference in that mentality?
Well, I would say the first thing when you're playing starter minutes, you're playing with the best players. So you have to think about, fitting in, getting everybody going, picking your spots, picking and choosing. You can kind of let the game come to you, get your things in your flow. as a starter. When you're a bench player, you want to come in and you want to be a spark, right? Whether it's offensively, defensively, in the energy category, making open shots, diving for loose balls, playing defense, being aggressive and pick and rolls, those kind of things. And so, yeah, I do think it's a different, kind of mindset, whether you're a starter or coming off the bench. But, man, Goran can play either way. He's been doing it for a long time. Obviously, he's battle-tested. He's hungry. He's got international experience, and they played at a high level internationally. And so, yeah, he's really stepping up. And I would say the whole team is really stepping up. All the guys in the rotation have really, really played well.
Keyon, so that 2004-2005 season, the Heat, I believe they won 58 games during the regular season. You were a part of that squad. Should that squad or would that squad have ended up winning a title had the injuries not happened towards the end of that Pistons series? I know you guys. I know it was a heartbreaker. I don't mean to bring it up, but no. I think that's one that sticks with a lot of Heat fans.
Yeah, that was really tough. I mean, was battling, some type of I don't know if it was a rib he had or something like that, but it was like a injury like in his core. So it was difficult for him to move, breathe, and all that, and he gritted it out. Damon Jones was walking in a walking boot. You know what I mean? Like if he wasn't playing the game. So he had some injuries there. And so, yeah, that was a factor in it. Detroit was obviously one of the best defensive teams in the history of the game. They had a very balanced team. This Heat team kind of reminds me of that Detroit team because they have so much balance, so much grit, so many interchangeable pieces. They have that kind of mindset or that mentality that they can, win the chip really, with that unit.
The other thing about that team was that Dwayne Wade took a huge step that season. Going from the rookie year and kind of playing with Lamar and playing with Karan and then all of a sudden, the trade's made for Shaq, and that's okay. And then they bring in some of you guys, and it's like, okay, we're going to try to win now. Like this is not a cute little team anymore. I feel like this Heat team is a little bit in transition where you bring in Jimmy, but there are so many young guys on the team, and you're trying to mix, now you've got Butler and you got Iguodala and you got Dragic, and then you have guys at the very beginning. I want to ask you specifically about Tyler Hero because you were not with Dwayne for his rookie season, but this is the only rookie playoff run in Heat history that's even comparable to what Dwayne did as a rookie, if you look at some of the numbers. What do you see in Tyler Hero? And I mean, at 20 years old, doing this? I mean, you were a first-round pick. You came in with high expectations. And where do you think his game can go?
Well, I think the sky's the limit for him. I got a chance to see him play when he was in high school at Top 100 camp. Ball is Life, all those different platforms that, that keep us like just on point with all our young talent in this country. I think the sky's the limit. He's got great playmaking skills. He's got, shot-making ability. He's got confidence and swagger, which is something that separates good players from great players. And I think the most important thing is that he's got the right infrastructure support, right? The Heat's, strength and conditioning program is second to none. Their coaching staff is second to none. The guys, who are on the team, the leaders on the team, the UDs and, Jimmy Butlers, he has great examples to follow. You see him putting in work, in the off season, whether it's with Remy workouts or other other trainers. So you see this guy putting in work. I think the sky's the limit. I'm really shocked about his ability, his ground game, his ability to make plays and create plays, his pace, his change of direction, his step back game. And then, the thing that you can't teach is that, ice water through your veins. Like he is ready in crunch time. He is not scared of those moments. I think he had some, regular season moments where, it was I remember him corralling a ball and it was like a 3-on-1 and he pulled the three. He went for the game and nailed it.
Oh yeah.
During the regular season. And I think those kind of prepared him, for where he is right now.
early on, Hero was really looked at as like a prototypical scoring guard when he arrived on the scene in Miami. And as the team got back together, and particularly the play in the bubble, they've really empowered him to become more of a ball handler and a facilitator and do some of the stuff that you would attribute to a point guard. And I'm interested, I know played both spots. There were lots of different lineups, even 3-guard looks that I know that you were involved in. I'm interested to hear your perspective on how a young player specifically, balances figuring out how to be a point guard and take on those responsibilities more and more, but not give up the scoring mentality that makes you the dynamic player you are, kind of, if that's what your initial role was.
Yeah, I think it shifted. When I was playing, being stuck between a point guard and a shooting guard was known as being a tweener, right? You know what I mean? And tweeners really didn't stick, right? Nowadays you're not a tweener, you're a combo. He's a combination guard. He's a lead guard. However, he can play with you. He can, he can play off the ball. He can play on the ball. I think the thing that gets overlooked most is the defensive end, right? He's had to catch on to the concepts, the coverages. You know what I mean? He has to bring that energy and effort on the defensive end if you want to play for the Miami Heat. And I think that goes overlooked. Like, that guy is a rookie out there in crunch time and not having defensive breakdowns. And another thing that I think he brings versatility. He brings versatility because he's so unselfish and he's got such a good handle. He can probe and he knows where the next pass is going to be. He knows how, if Bam is rolling, he knows how to hit him on the lob. If the help is coming from the corner, he knows how to probe, get an extra dribble, and make that extra swing. The kid's got game. He's nice. We need him to be nice. We really need him to be nice. We need a player like Tyler Hero to really be nice in our league. We need that.
We need a hero.
Yeah.
So one of the things I want to talk to you about with this year's team and just overall right now, I think this is the year Spoelstra is finally getting his credit, his just due as one of the top 4 coaches in the league. You were there when he was just an assistant. Yeah. Did you see this from him back in 2005, or was he just a kid on the sidelines? Who is this guy? No,
you saw it in him. He really had command of excuse me, guys. Could you hear me? I'm sorry, I went out for a quick second.
Yeah,
he really, at that time, I felt like he was the best workout coach, trainer in the game that I had ever been around to that time. The way that he taught the game from a player development standpoint was unbelievable. Spo is one of the best. I know it's probably difficult for him to just, take that 30,000-foot view because he was so good at teaching the game, the high to low, the rhythm to the game. He had, excuse my language, Spo got some of that shit in his game. He can bounce the ball, he can really move, and he can really teach the game. So that really stood out. And then when you would go and break down film with him, Spo's really the guy who taught me how to break down film and what I'm looking for and things like that. And so what he did, I feel like Spo is a holistic coach, right? He's good as a defensive coordinator. He's good as an offensive coordinator. He knows how to relate to players. He's cut from the Riley cloth, so he a lot tougher than he looks. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? He's a lifer, the guy who worked his way up, so he understands film, he understands positioning, he understands all the little intangibles that go into making a great coach. And I'm so glad to see him getting his just due, man. We love Spo, man.
All right, we're going to take you back here in a second, but you played for Stan, and we had Stan here on the pod, and Alex was actually the one who brought up the whole 2005 thing, and Stan got upset at him for bringing up a bad memory.
That's why I had the disclaimer this time. I didn't want to upset another guest,
But I remember before you were acquired, it was that July, I was up in Jacksonville when Lamar Odom and Dwayne Wade were up there for USA camp. And I remember going up to Lamar after his 1 year playing with the Heat and saying, "Hey, Lamar, what's up?" And he goes, "Call me," and I'm not going to use the language. I guess I could, but he basically said, "Call me MFer." And I said, "Why?" He says, "Because that's the only thing Stan called me the entire year." What was it like being screamed at by Stan Van Gundy?
Hey, you know what? I could still sometimes hear Stan's voice. It's so good to see the manifested version of Stan on television. He's so calm. You know what I mean? He's got so much swag in the booth, right? But Stan was tough as a coach. Not just tough, he was accountable. He was a teacher. You know, he was very you could be real with him. You could disagree with him. You know, you would consistently hear his voice, run, go, come on, what are you doing? Let's go, run, do it, right? You would hear that over and over and over again. And he was somewhat of a perfectionist, but I also had a chance to play with Stan when I was with Orlando Magic. And, you know, man, the growth in his, like, he was able to tone it back a little bit from his Heat days and evolve and grow and change with the game. And so Stan is still one of my two favorite head coaches that I've ever played for. I'll still run through a wall for him. I still love him. I admire him. And I just love the work that he's doing right now. And I love how he's using Twitter. Stan is woke.
Stan is woke. There's no question. We always say here, I always say he's stealing my tweets. Before I can tweet him, Stan gets them. All right, we're going to go back to Keyon's past a little bit here more in a second after a word from Safe Cubbies.
I want to introduce you to another of the great new sponsors of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and it is a sponsor that would be important in any time if you want to have a beautiful workspace, but it's especially important now when you need a safe one as well, and that's safecubbies.com, which offers modular office solutions designed to elevate your open office into a modern and safe environment at any budget. You can personalize your workspace with options like whiteboards, magnetic panels, acrylic sheets, and graphic branding. Most of the surfaces are non-porous for easy cleaning and can be removed or replaced within minutes. Now, this is for workplaces. They've got a bunch of different options on their professional series, but also they've got private room solutions, dividers, and sneeze guards, and they have a classroom series as well. So if you're involved with a school, this is definitely something your school should check out, of course, if we have school in the fall. And that's the point here. We are entering a new normal period with COVID-19. Safecubbies.com, which is locally owned, is the place that you want to go. The phone number is 754-216-1071. Again, that's 754-216-1071 or safecubbies.com.
All right, back here with Keyon Dooling. I've got the whole crew tonight. Everybody want to be part of this one. Greg, Alex, and Alf. Let's go back to the beginning, because before you played for the Miami Heat, you were kind of a Broward legend. And so I'm going to start right here because I want to start an argument between you and UD.
Okay.
Dade, Broward for basketball. Give me your 5 and tell me if you take Dade.
Okay. So you want me to give my top 5 all-time Dade?
Give me your 5. Give me your Broward 5, because at some point I'm going to get his.
Okay, cool. So Mitch Richmond, Eddie Jones, Brandon Knight, myself. I gotta put the pros in there. And then we'll say, maybe somebody like, there's so many good players. It's so hard to choose from. But I'll say maybe, who would I say at that 5th?
You need a big, don't you?
I do need a big, but not, Houston's not playing a big anymore, so it's positionless.
Is John Collins Broward County?
No, that's
he's Palm Beach.
Okay, further out.
Boynton, let's say Kenny Boynton Jr., because he scored so many points for so many years. I think he's still in the record book, so I'll throw Kenny Boynton Jr. in there.
Yeah, I thought Kenny was going to be a pro, actually, at the time. I thought, what was it like? Take me through high school basketball in Broward a little. I'm going to get UD's 5, by the way, but I still remember doing the story on you, Eddie, and UD back in the day when all 3 of you guys were all South Florida products were all on the same team. But how has South Florida basketball evolved over time? And do you ever think that it'll get to anything close to a level of where football is?
Well, it's going to be difficult to, replicate what we do from a football standpoint. At the end of the day, we have more NFL players, I think, than any other state. We're just bred differently in football. It just is what it is. It's like, we have to, play football down there. So, but, I would say that we have some pretty decent, talent coming out of Florida. And I think the sky's the limit. There's a lot of talent coming behind us as well that's being developed down there. But Florida, for the most part, coming up, we were looked at as a football state. People didn't take us serious about basketball. It was very difficult to get recruited. It was, we were overlooked. We were known for being athletes and having dog in us, but not necessarily being the most skilled players. So a lot of people didn't necessarily recruit us. But it is what it is. I think, the best is yet to come for South Florida basketball. I think people respect, the work that's been put in from our Florida Hoopers. People like Amari Stoudemire, Vince Carter, Tracy McGrady, Mitch Richmond, Eddie Jones, Udonis Haslam. Those guys that put in work, they made, they've really, made Florida a force to be reckoned with.
Well, Keyon, I want to ask you about that because I did a little coaching, not because I'm any good at basketball, just because my son loved basketball, and one of the biggest reasons he loved basketball is Dwayne Wade. And I think that has a lot to do with what's shifting down here. A lot of these kids, they want to play ball. But for you, when you were coming up, what made you, as an athlete, go towards basketball instead of football, just like probably what most of your friends were doing?
Yeah, well, the thing, my last year playing football, I scored 24 touchdowns as a wide receiver. And I remember getting my chin strap like split, like doing this little drag route. And I was like, you know what? I got a scholarship to go play basketball at Cardinal Gibbons. You know what I mean? I'm about 130, 145 pounds. I think I'm going to go hoop. I think this is the route for me. I don't think the physicality part on the football field is for me. So I decided, pretty much ninth grade to give up football and to really focus on basketball. And man, thank God I did. I picked the right path.
Those guaranteed contracts don't hurt, do they?
They do not. They do not hurt at all.
All right, so give us a UD story, and I want to get to what you're doing now, but we got to get a UD story.
Yeah,
the man's 85 years old. He's still holding down a spot, not as an assistant coach, but still in the NBA. I mean,
yeah.
Give me something.
I got so many UD stories. We've been fishing together. We've caught sharks together. We've been in the Everglades together. We lived across the street from one another. Like, we've known each other since we were about 15 years old. Like, so my love for UD is deep. I would say, like, one of the funniest stories that I heard about UD or saw, with UD was a KG story. KG was like UD's rookie year. He didn't know who UD was, and so he was like, hell no, I ain't guarding that. So when UD shot and he missed it, you know what I mean? KG was talking big. That shit broke. You ain't whoop-de-whoop, all this, right? And so the next year, the first possession of the game, they said UD came out. They ran a pick and roll. He hit a shot. He hit the shot that he had missed the year before. And before he could get down the court, they said UD took his mouthpiece out and cussed KG out like, you can't whack up me like that, right? So it's just vintage UD. UD does not back down. He does not fold. I've seen him like transform his body. You know what I mean? I saw him go through that maturation process of really understanding his body, his role, his ability to, sacrifice. The guy turned down money, left money on the table. You know what I mean? Because his heart and his passion and his love for the city and the state and, of Florida and Miami, right? And so just to see him get this victory lap and the respect that everybody has for him and the resume that he has and all the things he does in the community, all the things he does, you know what I mean, as an entrepreneur, man, I'm just so proud of my homeboy.
Does it surprise you at all with some of the stuff that came out from the bubble that in a lot of ways, Udonis Haslam is a big reason why the guys are still playing? Because, I mean, he spoke up at that meeting. He spoke to LeBron directly, according to all the reports, and sort of laid it on the line that this is a platform we need to keep going. His ability to see both sides of the issue and influence people. Yeah,
one of the frustrating things around the game is that you have guys who contribute like that as a player. They might be a 5-time captain, 6-time captain. And a lot of times they don't get an opportunity to evolve into coaching, right? Or being a part of the game, right? There's so many barriers to entry, you know what I mean, for guys to get in. And so I'm just thankful that it's guys like Udonis, you know what I mean, and guys like Tyrone Lue and people who are really like, former players who are really paying their dues, Sam Cassell. I could go down the line forever because the more that we get in the game, the more we can contribute to the game and be a part of the game, I think is better for the next generation. There's so much information transfer that we miss out on because the OGs, you know, it's a young man's league now. It's not a lot of OGs in the game anymore. And so it is what it is, but Udonis, you know, I think will be, you know, whatever he wants to be around the game.
You've gone a slightly different direction, although I know you're still around the game, in that you've gotten into public speaking and to trying to influence people that way. Can you talk about how that came about and where that goes now?
Yeah, so, I mean, look, the way that my career ended with a battle with my mental health, you know what I mean? Like, I've been on this journey around mental health. And, you know, I'm so thankful for that journey. It's kept me relevant. It's kept me impactful as far as my, you know, my ability to connect with people. However, you know what I mean? A lot of times I think people think that that's the end all be all for me. Like, you know, I have a lot to offer the game. I think every former player wants to get closer to the game. But I'm so thankful for this opportunity as a wellness counselor. I really get to contribute to these young men's lives on a daily basis, you know, getting them to the resources, the right therapist, the right psychologist, the right psychiatrist, whoever they need, whatever the resource they need around their mental and emotional health. I'm so thankful that I'm in this position to be able to service guys because I went through my own battles. And man, if I would have had a program like this when I was playing, maybe I would have got 2 or 3 extra years in there.
I want to ask you about that specifically too, because you were in the bubble, right?
I was in the bubble for 12 days, but 7 of them was in quarantine.
So, all right. Well, first thing, what was that like? Like because the players have had to go do that. Kendrick Nunn had to do it for 4 days when he went back up. What was the 7-day quarantine in the bubble?
Well,
like?
Look, a lot of Red Dead Redemption Part 2. You know what I mean? Like Arthur, like, you know what I mean? Like I covered a lot of ground in Red Dead. I did about 200 push-ups every day, about 100 lunges, 100 calf raises, and 100 dips. Right? Like
He culture strong, Keyon.
Hey, look, I was a baby Bill Ferran out there. You know, he's indoctrinated me with that workout. But to be real with y'all, as hoop fans, like it was like literally Disney World for a hoop fan. It was like I was inside of 2K. Literally, like when I would go to the games, I was inside of 2K. I was right behind that fast camera, right? It was so dope. I got to fish while I was there. I got to go bike riding. I got to, have these great conversations with, people like Chris Haynes from the media and Mark Spears, you know what I mean? Guys who I've known for a very long time. I got to see former teams like Rondo and those guys in the bubble. I got to see former coaches and teams that I played for. Got to do my job and be able to contribute to guys. So, man, it was a very unique experience. I'm so thankful I got an opportunity to do that. I even got some gear from the bubble. You know what I'm saying? I'm still rocking my bubble gear. What's up?
And what were the 5 days out of quarantine like in terms of what were you trying to – because there's been so much conversation about what the players were going to go through. And obviously there are the social justice issues, which, are still going on, obviously. There was COVID. There's being away from families, at least until families were allowed back in the bubble.
Yeah.
And then there was also the conversation that I know Chris Paul talked a lot about on the conference call before this all started when he was on with Adam Silver, talked about mental health and what this was going to be like for guys 2 to 3 months with everything going out in the world, and they're stuck here in this place and can't leave and can't be around a lot of the people that they care about. What were you trying to get across to the people that you were talking to?
Yeah. I think the first thing that I wanted to get across is that, like, look, I'm here with you, right? You know what I mean? You guys are going through this. And you got to have, like, your resources and your support system, you know what I mean, in that foxhole with you. So the first thing is I wanted to be present, let them know that my commitment is to the guys. The next thing I wanted to do was to get touches, right? Get player touches. Everybody kind of knows what I do. But a lot of times, you know what I mean? Like, the way I do my job is very, like, relaxed, right? You know what I mean? There's no pressure. I'm not, hey, how's your mental health? How's your emotional health? How you doing? You need therapy. Like, that's not really my route. My route is like, I'm the OG vet. They still view me as the OG vet. So we can talk ball, you know what I mean? And then from ball, like, everything else just will start coming out. So I had a lot of conversations down there. I probably had about 25, 30, private conversations with players while I was there. but also had, talks and touch points with coaches, trainers. Support our guys, because I think it takes a village, and every team has 2 mental health specialists. The NBA has their mental wellness program, and we have ours. And so the most important job was to just let the guys know that we were there for them in support. Whatever they needed, we had their back.
So, Keyon, getting back to this year's Heat, we still don't know who they're going to play in the Eastern Conference Finals. I mean, I don't think any of us saw coming that the Heat would be the first team there, just kind of waiting for everybody else to finish their series. It's a real good point to be in as a Heat fan. But what I wanted to ask about was Celtics-Raptors. We don't know who's going to win yet. How would you feel about either one of those scenarios for the Heat? Which one would you think would be a tougher matchup, easier matchup, even though those two teams seem like there's not really one that's clearly better than the other, especially with Hayward out for Boston? How do you feel about that and where the Heat match up with those teams?
Yeah, I think they match up well with both of those teams. I think it's a lot of parity in those teams, right? I think they're all equally as good as one another, different philosophies, different styles. But I think, like, as far as offensively, I think the Celtics pose the more matchup challenges, right? Because you got a guy like Tatum who's, like, ascending. You got Jaylen Brown who is, like, one of those Scottie Pippen type players in a sense, with his versatility. They got a lot of players. They got a lot of elements, right? So that team is tough. Toronto, they're just so battle tested. They got a team full of winners. They got that dog in them. You know what I mean? I played with Marc Gasol, and that guy is tough as nails. Kyle Lowry and Fred VanVleet, they know how to play. They know how to win. So I think that series, I'm going to take Boston, one of my former teams that I played for, and I think it'll be a Heat versus Celtics.
And who you got in that series?
Listen, you know what I mean? Like,
that follow-up was coming.
Yeah. To be real with you, you know what I mean? Like, the way that I enjoy the game now, I like players more than I like teams, because players change teams so frequently. But I'll be rooting for both teams. Like, I'm probably leaning a little bit more towards the home team just because I'm from Lauderdale. I gotta sorry about that. That. Lauderdale, so I got to cheer for the home team. But man, my time with the Celtics was very unique, and I enjoyed that organization. They're first class. They really helped save my life, so I always cheer for them as well. So I won't be rooting against anyone. Let's just say I won't be rooting against anyone.
Well, what's up with your boy Perk? Your boy Perk is all the way in on the Heat. He's picking the Heat over Boston.
Hey, look, you know what? Perk knows the game. You know what I mean? I'm so glad that Perk, has been able to find a voice for himself. He's very authentic with the way that he communicates, the way that he sees the game. He makes bold enough statements, you know what I mean, that gets that attention. But a lot of times, you know what I mean, people dismiss the intellect that a lot of big players have, right? And he knows the game. He knows hoops. And to hear that country flavor, that Texas swag when he speaks.
Them goons.
You know what I'm saying? I like to see Perk doing this thing, man. I'm happy for, like, Steven Jackson, Quentin Richardson, Matt Barnes, Darius Miles, you know what I mean, Kenny Smith, all those guys who have really transitioned and are, voices for the game. Man, I'm just so proud of everybody.
We'll be back with Keyon Dooling in a second. I want to tell you about another great sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network. And if there's another podcast that our current guest should appear on, it's probably this one, the Lessons Via Leader podcast, which is not part of our network, but I wouldn't mind if it was. It's hosted by Will Weintraub. It's a weekly podcast show where they interview a new entrepreneur, founder, or thought leader every week. Many of their guests are local leaders here in South Florida that built huge businesses and fostered large communities and movements. Each show features a new guest that shares with the audience valuable lessons and learnings that they've amassed over their careers. Their shows can be found on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. They also have a video version of each episode that they post on YouTube. So check it out. It's the Lessons Via Leaders podcast. Again, support local podcasters, support local businesses, and you'll be supporting 5 Reasons Sports. And now, back to the episode. Want to do a little bit of rapid fire here before we let you go.
Okay,
again. Follow him at Keyon_Dooling.
That's
here.
right.
Let's do this. You played with Dwayne Wade. Is Dwayne Wade, in your view, a top 20 player all time in the NBA?
Yes. Top 20. For sure. I would put D-Wade, like, as far as shooting guards, I'm going to put him number 3, you know what I mean, behind MJ and Kobe. I got time. It is what it is. I argue that.
You don't have to argue it with us. We're with you.
Hey,
We're
preaching
with
to the
you on that
choir here,
one.
that's for sure.
All right. 2006 NBA Finals. The Heat win a championship 1 year after you were there. Your immediate feeling, reaction when that thing ended in Dallas was what?
You know what? I was jumping up and down in my Davie home, celebrating my brothers getting that chip. I was fresh off of getting the biggest contract of my NBA career. And so sometimes you cannot have your cake and eat it too. I was satisfied with where I was in my career, but yeah, I did miss out on the chip.
I got one. 05 team or 06 team? Which one was better?
06, they won the chip. They were the better team.
I don't agree with you, actually. I love the 04, 05 is one of my favorite teams ever.
Yeah.
I think fully healthy, that team should have won going away.
One Dwayne injury away, man.
Yeah, you know what? I wish we would have had the referees in that Game 7 that we had when I was on the Celtics and the Heat got the home cooking.
Wow.
So the hardest
video so you guys can
right?
see Keyon's face after that one.
It was classic. Absolutely classic. So here's the toughest question of the entire podcast. Who's tougher, Alonzo Mourning or Udonis Haslem?
Oh my God.
So okay, let's do this. Let's do this, right? I'll say they're tougher. They're both equally as tough. They're tough in different ways. Like Lonzo, had to have what was it, a kidney transplant or a liver transplant? I'm not sure which.
Kidney.
Yep. So he overcame that. You know what I mean? Like Zoe is the only person I ever seen lift weights on every part of his body. Are you doing Achilles exercises, bro? Like, are you trying to really strengthen your pinky finger? Like, he was curling pinky. But Zoe is tough for coming back from that, right? As far as Udonis and the path that he took, I don't know a tougher man on the planet than Udonis Haslem, a more loyal, down-to-earth, stand-up, no nonsense, caring, compassionate person. Like, UD is all that. He is all that as a human being. And I'm just thankful that, I had a chance to know him for over 25, we 40 now? Yeah, like 25 years.
Alex, you're muted.
What I was going to ask was, what are the chances that the Heat get to a championship this year, and who is your pick?
Yeah, I think they got a good chance. I think, in the conference finals, I think it'll be a tough series, no matter if they play the Raptors or the Celtics. So they have a good chance. Like I said, I like players. I want to see LBJ continue to, grow his resume. I was fortunate enough. I got a chance to play against Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant, and LeBron. So I'm very blessed that I had an opportunity to grace the court with them. But, man, I'm Team LeBron, man. I think he stands for everything that's right about our game. He did it right. He elevated, people who was important to him. He brought championships to multiple cities. You know what I mean? He's done I think he's exceeded everybody's expectations, even though he was the king, in high school. If you look back over the course of his career, I think he's really exceeded all expectations that anybody could have placed on him. I think he's third all time in scoring right now or something like that. I mean, he's in the tops in assists. Like nobody's won more playoff games than him. Like, we won't truly appreciate LeBron until he's gone. Kind of like Heat fans, right? Like, when he was here, it was like, man, LeBron ain't posting enough. He ain't doing this enough. Man, we should have got 5 while he was here, right? But then you look back and you don't get those kind of opportunities. You don't get that kind of limelight, and you're like, damn, we miss LeBron.
But admit it, Key, if he stayed here, he would have 5, wouldn't he?
Hey, look, I was on the Celtics, you know what I'm saying? We was trying to, I could let him get one.
That's true.
But possibly, but I think also, what he did for his community, I think, was really admirable. And, I'm happy and thankful that I get an opportunity to continue to watch him because he's still like going up. He's still peaking. He's still awesome.
I want to finish here on a more serious note. Two real quick things for you, and then we're gonna let you go. The first thing is you were in the bubble with these guys when they were making the decisions about whether to keep playing and whether to use their platform or to basically, sort of end it before, it was supposed to end. Do you feel that the players did the right thing there in staying in the bubble and seeing this season out and using their platforms the way that they have?
Yeah, I think there's more than one right answer. You know what I mean? But I think, the players understand not only the platform that the NBA kind of gives us and their notoriety and their talent gives them, but they also know, that this is a business and this model has to be sustained. And you cannot sustain this model when you don't have the gate and then you don't have the TV contract, you know what I mean? So I think our players, made the right decision. I support them. 100%. I think they're strong. I think this generation of players is, more cultivated than any generation before them. They're developed, they're sharp, they're media savvy. They know how to communicate. They know how to get their message out. They know what they are doing and talking about. So I think the players made the right decision. And, the NBA and the Players Association has made sure there's been 0 positive tests in the bubble. And so that maybe can be a model, moving forward as we continue to try and navigate through this pandemic.
We'd love to have you on here again. But in the time being, where can people find you and where can they find the work that you're doing?
Yeah, if you want to find me, I think IG, is the best place, to kind of see what I do. Keyon _Dooling. You can go to nextlevelbooking.com if you want to book me as a speaker. I just got booked. I'm going to do my first virtual speaking for for college. So I'm excited about that. I had about 12 of them canceled on me. But if you're a reader, I wrote a book. The book is called What's Driving You. You can get that on any platform. And yeah, man, y'all check me out. Tune in. Thanks for having me. I'd love to come back.
We'd love to have you back. You're from a family of authors too. I remember I still have your mom's book. So
my mom and my wife wrote a book. You know what I mean? So we like to express ourselves.
We like that here on the podcast. Keyon Dooling, follow him, Keyon _Dooling. We appreciate the time and the stories and all that good stuff.
Hey, listen, Ethan, next time I need to see your face, my brother. You know what I'm saying?
I know. You don't need to see my face. Nobody needs to see my face. Key, I got a face for radio, so it's all right.
He has long-standing technical issues with this stuff, Keyon.
It's lasted about 5 months. That way nobody can see what I'm doing here in my place.
That's being generous.
I don't live that far from where you went to high school, so you could stop by here anytime and say hello. We'll go down to Las Olas.
Listen, I'll take you when I come down to Fort Lauderdale, Ethan. We'll do that. I got a few restaurants that I like that I think I need to expose you to.
All right, that sounds good. I'll take you up on that. Thanks, Key.
All right, brothers. Thank y'all for having me, man. Blessings.
Thank you, man.
Thanks, Keyon.
That was great.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Regional Sports Network.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5
on the floor.